Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. Hopefully, I will be there tomorrow morning through the weekend. So if you find me and want to grab me and talk more about what I'm going to present now, just try to find me and I can share more details with you. I tried to keep this pretty simple. I'm so glad that I'm actually following Leo, because now you have a great introduction to the new apps that are coming out and these new programs that are being run. BeringWatch is not actually new. I work for the Aleut community of St. Paul Island in the Ecosystem Conservation Office. And BeringWatch has been under the radar being developed for the last 15 years. And I'll explain a lot about the program and what we do. And we're now in the expansion phase where we are reaching out as a tribal government to other Native Alaskan villages who maybe employ an environmental coordinator or have individuals in the community that are always out there in the environment, know how to do some data collection or would like to learn how to do data collection. And we really want to implement this tribal-run ecological monitoring network. So BeringWatch is something that started in St. Paul and St. George, and now we're really trying to expand out across Alaska. We all know there's this urgent need to increase the seasonal breadth and spatial resolution of monitoring efforts. Lots of research is conducted seasonally in Alaskan villages. There's not a strong presence of federal and state research intensive and scientific data collection that goes on in our communities. And so we all are at the Aleutian Life Forum, some of us via phone, like myself. But we know that we're all coming together for this urgent need to build community resilience. We know climate change is occurring. We can all see it in our communities. Some of it is quite dire and quite urgent. So this is the perfect venue to really talk about all of the efforts that are being implemented now and kind of how things can be synthesized and how we can all come together and build out our communities and link our communities and our observation and monitoring efforts across the state. BeringWatch at its heart is a regional community-based coastal and ocean monitoring partnership. We reach out specifically to tribal communities. So at this time, we've got St. Paul, where I'm from, Pico, False Pass, Axcan, most recently there where you guys are in Alaska. And we are bringing on Cooper Bay into the BeringWatch network this coming year. So the goal of it at its heart is to build resiliency and to address the ongoing impacts of climate change. This empowers local residents to talk, be able to communicate with others, specifically NOAA folks, ADS&G, all of these state, regional, federal, decision makers and policy makers, and the ones that are extracting scientific data from our communities. And oftentimes, it doesn't come back to the community. And residents are wondering what's going on and what's happening, and kind of feel powerless to make any change. So the BeringWatch program is specifically designed to train local residents so that we can empower those folks when they want to speak with authorities, with others in the scientific community. So this obviously is to strengthen communication among environmental scientists, among policymakers, and the numerous other stakeholders that we have up here in Alaska. Why do we think BeringWatch works? Why do we have this program? Why do we spend so much time and effort in developing it? The focus of BeringWatch is to have consistent and standardized methods of environmental and wildlife data collection. That's very important because a lot of the information that comes out of Alaska rural native villages can be considered anecdotal. And I hate that word because it really discredits folks that are noticing a change, making that observation, and speak up about it and say, I've lived here for 50 years, and this is different, and this is indicating a change. And then, typical Western science says, well, that's just anecdotal, that's just one person saying one thing. But there's a lot of folks in the community that are seeing these changes and are saying the same thing. So what we did in St. Paul was really to work with those scientific entities, NOAA and Alaska Fish and Game. We have the Maritime Wildlife Refuge. We work with those folks and those scientists to develop these standardized methods that are easy to understand and easy to learn, that provide real-time and rigorous scientific data collection. So we have a comprehensive handbook, the training protocols, everything is laid out, everything is explained, and we take time to come into the community, gather people together, and train those folks in the handbook, in all of these methodologies for environmental and ecological monitoring. And then the most important part is we have a community database. We have a database that is private, that these sentinels that are going out and looking and making these observations, and community members that are making these observations, all of those get logged into a database. That database has quality control checks. It has a standard operating procedure. There's guidelines to it. It is protected. It is, username and password protected, much like the LEO network. But each observation has tied to it latitude and longitude, temperature, wind direction, tide, anything that the observer puts into the system will go into the database. And so let's say someone in St. Paul is charged with looking at water quality, and they have specific instrumentation, and they're going out and they're doing water quality checks, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. All of those data that they're collecting, temperature, salinity, any kind of instrumentation they're using and getting information from, that's all going into the observation, and that's all going into the database. So if you think about that being conducted over a year's time, and then you multiply that out, say that is happening like it has been at St. Paul for 10 years. We can look at changes and export those data from the database, and then you have an entire Excel file of data that you can plot temperature over time. You can plot salinity over time. Scientists love that kind of stuff, right? For looking at patterns and for seeing change. So one resident in a community that's able to collect, this piece of data or that piece of data can put together a long-term data set pretty easily. Because it's going into this database, it's protected, it's archived, and it's taken care of. We also sign a memorandum of agreement with each community so that their data is owned by them. No one else can take it, no one else can use it for purposes that they want to. The tribal entity is typically who we work with, and so say that tribal government owns those data and owns that database. To go further, everything is pretty easy to install in a very technological age now. Of course, we have our own app, as everyone is coming out with. They're compatible with multiple operating systems. A lot of people use Android phones. A lot of people use an iPhone. And so we do have all of those, technical help in place. We've got, any system can use the observation logging system, and it does not need Wi-Fi, much like the LEO. Whenever you come back into the Wi-Fi range, everything will upload, everything gets archived offline, so there's not a worry of bandwidth or lack of internet access with these. And then finally, the technical support that comes with it. We are a network. We are a partner with our communities. We want to help. We want to ensure rigorous scientific data collection. We want to ensure that local residents feel comfortable and confident in the data collection that they're conducting, and we provide technical support all along the way and at any time to troubleshoot, to expand. We've recently started adding different protocols. We had some communities, St. Paul's never really worried about erosion. It's definitely becoming an issue now, but historically we haven't had that program in place. A couple of our new communities are very concerned about erosion, and so we work with the Department of Geological and Geophysical Surveys to learn their erosion survey techniques and learn what a simple method for looking at erosion would be in a community long term. and learned all of those protocols, and now we are implementing that into our BeringWatch program.
You have 2 minutes, Lauren.
All the time. We're taking what already works and incorporating it into this kind of all-in-one environmental monitoring system. You can go to the next slide. So here's just an overview. On this table, you can see the range of programs and types of data collection that we have in St. Paul. Everything is chosen by the community. You choose your focal species. You choose what you want to monitor, and you pick and put together your own program that's going to work in your community, and that's going to answer the questions that you have. Right now in St. Paul, we do have a Citizen Sentinel program that's just local residents that download our Citizen Sentinel app, and whenever they're out, a lot of the time it's anomalous sightings. They've seen an orca calf wash up, or they've seen a walrus wash up, and then they log that observation, and we as the trained and paid individuals in the community go out and fill out the level A on that stranded marine mammal, and we follow up on that. We also do climate change assessments. We do the coast survey, if you're familiar with the coast bird survey. We do a lot of work with marine mammals. We do have a co-management agreement in place with NOAA, so we work very closely with them on how to collect data that they need to know for marine mammal stranding, for subsistence harvest. We do northern fur seal entanglement. We most recently took over female counts for northern fur seals, so that will go into this database as well. And just a range of different things. We do seasonal sea duck and gull surveys because U.S. Fish and Wildlife isn't there in the wintertime, and that's a large data gap for our island. So we work with these different entities, and we figure out what's needed in the community and where those data gaps are, and then we tailor the monitoring system to that community. I have a couple of examples. If you flip to the next slide, my first one is ribbon seal sighting. So in 2 different places, one in Atchison, the Sentinel there, Mike, recorded some ribbon seal activity last year in August, and then not even a week later, when he ended up seeing a ribbon seal in St. Paul. So these are 2 really anomalous sightings of a marine mammal that we were able to follow up on and log in the database. And the last observation of a ribbon seal for St. Paul was in 1988.
Okay, Lauren, I need you to wrap it up.
Of course, the murdi-offs are very prominent right now, right, in the last year or 2. So we were able to use the Coast program to record and log in and help them keep track of seabird die-offs. We know they're great ecosystem indicators. We know the monitoring of seabirds is important. And so these protocols are also part of the BeringWatch system. Our most recent addition is just this summer, we were able to take St. Paul and implement some erosion monitoring protocols using time-lapse cameras there on the top left and emery rods there on the bottom, and the map to the right just shows the coverage that we were able to get in St. Paul. Like I mentioned, we are in a promotion of expansion phase. We've had 15 years of data collection in St. Paul. We partnered with Unalaska and Kalawanga Tribe to write a BIA grant in 2015 that we got, and we're able to hold a training in Unalaska. In 2016, we got the same BIA grant that we partnered with Hooper Bay to implement the BeringWatch program in Hooper Bay, so that is our focus this year. And I'm currently writing a proposal now to the National Academies of Sciences, and we're partnering and collaborating with Bristol Bay Native Association to implement the BeringWatch program. This is the first expansion into multiple communities at once. So typically we've been limited to just bringing on one community at a time, and now we're looking at a more broad dissemination. So we in St. Paul have been successful, and we love this program, and we want others to use it, and we've seen a lot of the networks out there. This is specifically tailored to training local individuals, hopefully getting that paid position in place, help grant write, do whatever we need to do to make this program successful in communities around Alaska, because this is tribally driven. And so if you go to the last slide, you can see the slew of funding that we have very fortunately received in the last 15 years and the people that we partner with on these things. And again, I'm around Friday and I'd like to take a couple minutes tomorrow to speak on this in the workshop. So if you can find me, I'd love to sit down and talk to you about opportunities. Thank you guys for giving me the time to present BeringWatch.